looks good. Looks good. We're good to go. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. It's been a busy, bit of a frantic morning here this morning. It's going to be a busy day, a frantic day actually. But we've got a stream. What we're going to be doing, something special today. Something special. Just get this stuff out of the way first. Actually, whatever, returned mail, Patreon Chibis, Patreon Nenga, returned, address unknown, address incomplete, not deliverable as addressed. Over to Cameron. Oh, also, this is the December print. Not supposed to show it. It doesn't much matter. Let's have a little look. This is the final print in this year's subscription series. November's print is being mailed this week. This is an advanced peek at December's. And we know which anime this is from, of course, Bamboo Grove. This is from Rei-chan. All exactly the same. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Very quiet. We're going to end the series with a very quiet little scene. Actually, it's funny. It looks too bright here. It looks much nicer in real life. It's soft and not gloomy. Soft and quiet. That's December's print. Let's move on to January's print. Okay, the update. There's no carving today. We're not going to start with carving today. We've got the key block finished and the Karazuri block is finished. So today's job now is the first of the color separations. So we're going to see that moment this morning that everybody wants to see but that everybody hates, including me. We are going to blacken this thing up with pigment. Can't be helped. So what we're going to do, I know, because, let's have a look. I've got the original rough thing is here. We need to do the two blocks together to do the color separations. If there was just one key block, you print the key block and that shows you all the different color areas, you're good to go. But this print is different. This print is different. There's a key block, black lines, and there are going to be the birds are going to have transparent. They're just going to be embossed. But for example, this yellow area, if we end up printing it yellow, needs to have this line so it can show where to do the yellow. It also needs to know where these birds are. So before we can make the yellow color block, we have to print both the key block and the embossing block. That's what I'm going to do today. I've prepared we have 5 colors in this print. So I'm going to prepare 5 transfer sheets. And each transfer sheet has to be printed both from the key block and the embossing block. It's our usual stuff. It's Gampi on top of stiffer paper. Although it'll put pigment on the embossing block, but it doesn't matter. It'll dry. After it dries, it's okay. And I told you before, this embossing block, I want to print it with rich sumi because at the moment it's just bare wood and it would wear out quickly. But if we print it with some glue inside the sumi, the glue will go into the wood and will strengthen it later for its use as an embossing block. So don't get upset by the fact that it's going to look dirty today. It doesn't make any difference. Once it's dry, it will cleanly print an embossing. Doesn't matter. And we are using Bull brand transfer paper, yes. Okay, let's do this. Now, first up, before I use the transfer paper, I've got to take some test prints here, because does this really line up? Did I get the registration right? Because if I screw this up now, if I get this registration wrong between these two, the color blocks will be unusable. So first step, test run, test print. Hey, Taran-san is here. On Thursday, aren't you supposed to be at work? Okay, the big moment that everybody doesn't like. Let's do this. Let's get that out of the way for a minute. Let's put a strong non-slip base. Day off. My God, who gets a day off? I don't know what that word means. Okay, let's go. Here we go. Shoom, shoom, shoom. Actually, I haven't. This is the first test print of this, so it's quite possible there's going to be carving fixes. Maybe I'll have to thin some things down, some lines that got a bit too fat. Maybe, who knows? We'll see. We're about to find out. It would help if I had a Baron. Nee, soka, soka. Oh, something's already on there. Soka, soka, soka. There's our first test print with the Hokusai horse in the middle. Sorry about that. It's looking okay, you know, it's looking okay. This is Mudabori. The sun will later be taken away. Calligraphy looks good. The eyes and beaks, they'll need thinning down a little bit, absolutely. But it's okay, let's just do this. Let's print this. The horse. Hey, my mother's here. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. You say dreadful day in Vancouver. You mean news, or do you mean weather? It's beautiful here. Beautiful, beautiful blue sky, clear and cold and crisp. The best weather of the year. If I could stop the clock, this is the weather I would stop it at. This is a bit tricky because the paper's dry. It tends to slide around on the wood, and if it slides, I'm in trouble. So I'm holding it down here at some places. Okay, there's our first real impression. Okay, you can see the bird's eyes here. I'm pressing a bit too hard on this at the moment. That's where the eye and beak will be. They'll need thinning down for sure. It's going to be a pleasant print, you know. It's going to be a very nice print. Still not sure about the color schema. Okay, I got to move on. We got to do this quickly. Printing in real life will be a bit more delicate than what you see here. It'll be a moistened paper, and before we print, we will calendar the paper flat. And I'll be doing it with a softer, more delicate Baron. Right now, this paper, this yellow paper I'm using, is thick and hard. We need a real stable paper here that won't stretch. So this is not classic, delicate printing right now. We just need to know where the zones are. This is way more pressure than we'll be using for the real printing. Okay, 2 more. We need 5. I think there's going to be 7 color blocks, 7 colors in this print, plus the key block. But some of the colors will pair up. The color for the sun will go on the same block as some of the colors for the grass at the bottom. So we'll be printing red at the top and green at the bottom. So I need 5 transfer sheets here today, even though there are going to be 7 colors, I think, in the print. The mods question to show. I know we learned about mods. Some of the people have volunteered to sit back there and do this. I've been resisting this for a long time. We don't need mods because this is a happy stream. But common sense says there should be some people standing by there. The other day there was more than 1,700 people watching this, and the theory is that sometimes among those numbers of people there might be somebody making trouble. So 3 people have volunteered to be mods, and I tried to do that this morning. I tried to add them. I added 1, no problem. I added the second one, no problem. But when I tried to add the 3rd person, it didn't work. It wouldn't let me do it. I'll try again. It keeps moving. No, it let me add 2, but it won't let me add a 3rd one. No idea. I'll investigate later. Yeah, 1,700, not all at the same time. I think the max was something like, I can't see that from here, but I think the max is about 500 people all at once. But 1,700 different people did drop by, which is, it's good news, but also it's like, oh my God. Okay, there's 1. That's the key block now transferred to the transfer sheets. Now I've got to do the same thing with the Karizuri block. So this will be a bit misleading. This won't be printed in black in the finished print, but we're going to print it in black today. Plan on trimming the beard soon. Why would I do that? Well, I can't test that because I didn't use it in the Kento. Okay, just a minute here, just a minute. We should do a test to see if this is going to line up. Too many things going on at once here. Dave, concentrate. This is really, really, really important part of the job. If I screw this up, everything down the line gets screwed. Concentrate on what you're doing, Dave. one thing to mention, on the embossing block here, at the moment, I have also temporarily, on the embossing block, I have carved some beaks. Oops, where are we? I've carved some beaks and some feet on the embossing block. They will not be part of that. They are there at the moment temporarily just to help me get this lined up. And once we see that they are lined up, off they will come. And if everything worked perfectly in the planning stage, they should be. Now, if I put this in here carefully, everything should be lined up. Let's have a look and see. Where is it? Where's the stuff here? I think we have a lineup. I think we're in alignment. I think we're in alignment. So I said temporarily I carved two legs there, and they are lined up. Look at this. And the beaks, as far as I can see, they are aligned. So I think we're okay. We're good to go. We are good to go. So, a moment's carving here, just a sec. Glasses 1, glasses 2. Are we okay? I don't know. That one looks okay. Are we okay? That one, that leg looks totally fine, matched up. That beak looks totally fine. The ones at the bottom here may be a little sliver. Let's try this again. Let's try this again. So much conversation. You guys are okay, right? You're just talking by yourself. Okay, okay. Yeah, it does need a bit of adjustment, actually. It does, it does, it does, it does, it does. Okay, top beak seems okay. Top leg seems okay. Bottom, this beak now seems lined up. The leg here seems colored in. This beak seems lined up. I think this is the proper alignment. I think that's better. So let's do this. We've got our 5 sheets. Away we go. Now this is tough because it's thick, heavy, hard paper, but this is delicate lines. Normally printing, we would just kiss this. But on the thick, hard paper, it's tougher to do that. Okay, last one. Last sheet here for now. Okay. Next step, color separation. I have my carefully worked out color separation sheet here. It's the back of an envelope. For this one, we're going to stick, I think, pretty close to what the original was. I know the actual colors we use, I'm going to mess around with them because it's hard to tell what was in the original print. Wrong glasses. The 1 or 2 or 3 copies we can find out there, they're very much faded. The water here presumably would have been a blue, the sky would have been a blue. But the blue, the indigo part of it, the eye, has faded so much. It would have been tinted with a bit of sumi so that it wasn't a single pure color. And the blue part is gone and the sumi part is left. So we have gray water and a gray sky. The yellow, the kind of yellow they used, looks like it's pretty much the same. Some kind of vermilion. The brown, which would be yellow-red. There might be blue in the brown too, it's hard to tell, which would leave it a bit redder than it would normally be. So we're going to stick with basically the combination we see here, except that I'm really not going to do a gray water. We will do, of course, a more natural water-looking color. So to start here today, there will be the green you see on the pines. There will be the brown you see on the tree. Now they may be doubled up. The red sun may be actually used as part of the brown. I still haven't decided yet. The yellow, we'll keep that zone, the cloud zone, as it is. Then combining the red of the sun and the grasses, there's a faint delicate tone on the dry grass here. It's not bright green, it's brown. So we'll use the same block for the sun and the grasses. And we're probably going to they did the same thing. They put the beaks and the legs on that same block. So we'll have that. Then the sky and the water will be on the same block, even though they may not be the same color. They're far enough apart that we can put them on the same piece of wood. Now I can't do the sky yet because it needs to know where that green is going to go. And that green is not defined by any block. So I'm going to have to draw that myself. So we'll start this morning. Let's see, what can I do? The red can't be done until the green is done, because the green shows up, then the red matches the green. I can't do the yellow until that green is drawn. So it looks like that's going to be the first one I have to do, actually. The pine trees green. Or maybe the brown. Let's try that, because that's clearly defined with everything. Let's try that. Let's do the brown. Conversation about the pigments, absolutely. Corin's asking the green, can I do the green by combining blue and yellow? I could make a green by combining this yellow and whatever blue, but that locks me in. If I do, I'll do my test printing then. And if the green comes up as a certain color, and if I want to change that green, let's make it a bit richer. I can't do that without changing the blue or the yellow. The blue or the yellow. So I'm going to keep the green separately. Keeping them separately is one extra block, one extra printing, but it gives us total, absolute control over the colors. Dave has 4 hands. What's going on here? What do you mean 4 hands? Okay, sidetrack. Dave, concentrate. This is the most important, delicate part of the job, you know. I should not be doing this while I'm trying to do 6 other things at the same time. A screen freeze? At this end or that end? No, what? Camera froze. My camera froze or? Actually, you know, we've got a bit of a funny setup today. I know the last couple of days, is this NDA? It's not NDA, I can talk about this. The last couple of days, we've been using a different video setup here, and it'll be happening again today. I know I've been asked to do some commentating on an NHK program. I know if you watch NHK World, you know there's a program called the Tokyo, what's it called? Tokyo 2020i? Tokyo I 2020? Tokyo 2020i. And the one that they're filming today, I'm in it, but without going down to their studio. I've been on the program before, and they've got a giant studio with green screens and all that kind of stuff going on. They're doing it now over the internet. So it's not a program about me, simply it's a program about something else, and I'm a commentator on it. And we did a rehearsal yesterday. I put the camera here, set up the different video, put the feed onto Skype, and blah, blah, blah. And today's the recording starts at 11 o'clock this morning. So as soon as I finish the stream here, I've got to reset the camera and the lights for that one and go for it. I don't know when it's broadcast. I know it'll be whatever, a couple of months down the road. I don't know. Tokyo I. And actually, I didn't want to take part in this one. I know it's a topic that's of no interest to me, and I told him at the beginning, look, I said, I can't be enthusiastic about this. I'm not so interested in this one. I said, no, Dave, come on. We've helped your stuff. Come on, give us a break. You work with us. And I'm like, well, you can't say no to people that have helped you so much like this. So I'm not using Zoom. It's going to be Skype. But yeah, there'll be a setup today. They're going to patch me into the studio, and I'm going to be pontificating, commenting on something. I'm not sure. John's asking me, can I say the topic? I don't really know. They generally don't want you to talk about this stuff in advance. I'm sorry. So I don't know their rule, but it's better if I don't talk too much about the content. I'm sorry. Just simply, I've been asked to be a... There's a thing going. They're going to show some BTR. Some students and you know, people in an old folks home are working together to do stuff, and it's slightly related. Some parts of it are slightly related to traditional Japanese crafts. So I'm going to sit there and watch this thing, and then they're going to ask me for my comments about this. Dave, what do you think about this new thing that's happening here? And I will speak important, deep words. But it's better if I don't talk too much about this, because I don't know how much they've. Yeah, it's Chris's program, Chris Pepler's program. So this is an interesting point. So home equipment, actually it wasn't good enough. We've done 2 or 3. I think we've had 3 sound checks already. The final one was yesterday. The first one we did, I'm like, I'm cool with this, I can handle this. The guy said, well, please, will you install this program called Skype? And I'm like, I'm okay with this. I'm ready for that. But I didn't pass their test. Number 1 was they wanted me to use earphones because they don't want the open audio, their audio looping back. Skype is pretty good about noise cancellation, but it's at a pro level, no. So the next day they said sound check tomorrow. So I showed up the next day with my headphones. And they said, no, we can't have you on TV with headphones. Please put in your earbuds. And I'm like, what do you mean put in my earbuds? And they said, from your smartphone. And I'm like, sorry guys, I don't have such a thing. So I had to go out and buy something and came back the next day for the sound check. And I'm not used to using these at all. So I put them in, and the cable and he said, why did you get a white one? And it's white, and I'm like, So from their point of view, I have sort of screwed up every step along the way of this thing. I didn't have the headphones. I had the white ones. So I figured out yesterday, if I do this, if I put them in the back behind me, put them in my ears, they can't see the wire. Maybe it's okay that way. So whatever. Okay, for those of you who don't know what's going on here then, the step is now, there's going to be a brown tree in the print, and I'm going to use a red marker here to color the zone. The color we use for these markers is irrelevant to the final color that will appear in the print. Simply, I'm defining a zone for carving. The printer can come along, he can put green on it, red on it, blue on it. The carver doesn't know what colors the printer is going to use. He doesn't care. We're just defining a zone. We need a piece of wood of a certain shape. And the zone we're defining is the one that's going to be, of course, this is going to be, we can see it, it's going to be brown. How far to go? In the old days, without highlighters, what did they do? They used vermilion pigment with a brush. Somebody would sit there with a fude, a brush, a dish of vermilion pigment, and would draw it in. Remember also, the first time this pen was made, they weren't copying anything. There was no color master. This is a kind of interesting point about the original prints. Excuse me. It wasn't, the artist didn't do a color master, which was then sent to the workshop for reproduction. The artist drew the lines. That was sent to the workshop for carving, just pretty much like we see here. This is actually how it would have happened. There's no master. The guy draws on the thin paper, it's sent to the carvers, they carve it, and they come back with this. And they'll print off a half a dozen copies of these. And these then go to the designer. And the designer then sits. He sits with a bunch of these in front of him, and he thinks, okay, what do I want? And the designer then does this from his own mind. There's no master copy. He's thinking, okay, we're going to want this tree brown. So he takes his brush, his fude, and he colors these in with, it would have been vermilion pigment. Then he picks up the next sheet and says, okay, this is going to be the sky. And he colors in with vermilion pigment the sky zone, all from his imagination. And sometimes there are areas that are not defined by the key block. In fact, here, for example, we do have this. In the water here, we have, what do you call them? Lines, water lines, I don't know, whatever, just highlights. So he would do that for the water block. First he colors in vermilion for the area for water. Then he maybe take a little white opaque thing and say, okay, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. Give me those lines there. And the carver would then know to leave those out. So there's no master copy. Because we're making a reproduction, we have the master copy. And we're not making an identical forgery type reproduction. So I have lots of freedom here. We can fool around with this. I can add a branch or change a branch or do whatever I want. We're going to make this reasonably close to the original. Certainly the same feeling, the same mood. But we're not bound by any requirement to make it, iconically exactly the same. That's it, I guess. Did we have a monthly street clean on Tuesday? Yes, we did. And I got assigned a new job, actually, on it. So, I know. Here we are. Yeah, as you can see, now we've trimmed this down. The original has way more birds. Rather than just shrink the thing down, which would have made things too small, we've trimmed this. Koryusai is rolling over in his grave. Not. He's happy that we are doing this, I'm sure. Okay, there's our brown. And because the brown is spread all over the whole image, there's no way we can combine this with another color. We can't use this for the brown and some of these grasses. They're just too close. We couldn't print them separately. So this one will just be for brown. As I said on another one, we can get away with two. We can do the red and the grasses on the same piece of wood because they're far enough apart. The usual rule is yubi sanbon, 3 fingers. And if you can put 3 fingers between area A and area B, then the printers will be able to do their work without too much trouble. But if you can't get 3 fingers in here, if I was going to print this grass, there's no way we can get 3 fingers in there. So no way. This block is going to be just for brown. Now, as I said, I can't do any others right now because the yellow depends on the green, the red depends on the green, the sky depends on the green, the water depends on the green. So I can't move forward until I finish the green. Now, what I'm going to do with the green, I have to draw these in by hand because they're not on the key block. When it comes time to do the green one in a few minutes, I'm going to have to circle around each one of these tree areas, decide what to do. And I want to do that quietly and peacefully. I don't want to do that sitting here writing this. So what we'll do is simply, we've got one ready here. Let's paste it down. Check, final check. Some of the areas here, if I zoom in. Okay, let's look what's happening here. Some of the areas are clearly defined by black lines. So I've colored here between the black lines. What is tree and what isn't tree is clear. But when it gets down to the end of the branches here, it's really not clear. So what they've done is they just put a little bit of brown along the area. So I'm going to do the same thing. It's here too, on this one. They've put brown even though there's no border on both sides of the branch. So the same thing here. I've just put a bit of brown along the edge of the wood here. So we'll cut that roughly freestyle and see what it looks like at the time of printing. And you can see here too, we were coming up to this line where the karazuri is. Now you can see why I had to really make sure those first 2 blocks were lined up. Because if the embossing block and the key block are not lined up properly, the brown will be lined up with this block, but it wouldn't be lined up with the embossing block. And they were pretty loose about that. When they did their original one, they were really pretty loose. This was not printed very well, and it was not cut very well. There's white lines everywhere. There's gaps everywhere. There's a massive registration mistake on the top. The yellow is lined up with the green, and the gray is lined up with the green, but the red is not lined up with the green, but it's lined up with the gray. So this was not a carefully done print. And they forgot this whole zone for the sun. This was a rush job. They screwed it up quite badly. I can't imagine. We would never publish anything like this. Look at the registration. But they didn't care. They just didn't care. It was just colored scraps of paper for people to enjoy for a while and then toss out. The best example I can remember to compare with these is that when I was a kid, when newspapers first started getting some color, these days newspapers are color, it's no big deal. But when color started coming in newspapers, it was a real big deal. This is 30, 40, 50 years ago, whatever. And the first part of the newspapers that got color was the comic sections. And the registration was god-awful. It was like this. It was worse than this. It was a parody. There would be a green smear and it would be misregistered because the old newsprint going through the big old-fashioned printing press just wouldn't line up. It was early days. I mean, nowadays, color newspapers is perfect dots, you know. They just didn't care. It was cheap junk. Okay, we have the next piece of wood. Actually, no, this is not the right one. Somebody remembers that, Dave. You're showing your age, though. You're showing your age. Okay, fresh block ready for one of the color blocks. Usual thing, make sure that there's going to be no disasters, no bad pieces of wood in the area where the color will fall. Looks good, so just mark our zones. Here. Here. Excuse me. Cheap junk. It was. What can I say? It was cheap junk. Am I being disrespectful of the old masters? It's not old masters. These were people just making colored stuff, you know. That print I just showed you, the Koryusai, you know, if we had one of these now, there's so few of these left. They're worth such a fortune. To have an original Koryusai like this now with its beautiful, delicate colors and just the whole wonderful magic of it, I couldn't afford it. There's no way. Dave here could not possibly ever own one of those objects. They're priced way beyond what I could ever buy. But in their day, they were nothing. Oh, what's this? We have a new streamer here. Hi. Can you pop a link in so we can see it easily and so I can see it later? You're asking us to look up your Twitch. Pop the link in here. It's okay. Say traditional printmaking. Japanese, you mean? Japanese type stuff or Western? Traditional European techniques. Sorry, Dave, read the instructions. And what part of the world? So what time of day the streaming happens? What's the time zone situation? Okay, registration marks in place. Color separation sheet made. Nothing forgotten, I hope. If it goes down here, if it gets glued down carefully and accurately, we then have a perfect transfer of the information. Let's do this. Speaking of buying prints, Fuji Arts has some of my poets. No way, really? How did they get them? They come up here in the Jimbocho area all the time. And they don't go for very much. They go here for usually 3,000, 4,000 yen in the Jimbocho markets. What happens is a collector here who got a set of 10 of those. I didn't ever sell them one by one. I sold them in sets of 10, and some people went for the full 100. So they come up here quite often. But they don't go for much. I know they go for about 3,000, 4,000. I am not famous enough and I'm still alive. So, how much are they going for? $76.97. $76.97. What? So is that translation from a Japanese price or something? 8,000 yen? $76.97? No idea. No idea. The original subscribers back in the 1990s, when I was doing that, back in the 1980s and 1990s, the original subscribers paid 10,000 yen per sheet. So if he's selling about 95, then that's about the same price as they sold for back in the 1980s and 90s. They were 10,000 per sheet to the original collectors. Oops, might be a bit too much there. What kind of people collected me? I know this was pre-internet, so, and it was, of course, it was Japanese, local Japanese people, and it was people mostly, for the most part, that had an interest in the poetry. The images in that poet series are not really visually interesting. They're not landscapes. There's not much going on. It's a figure standing there with lots of calligraphy on it. So they weren't really of general interest. They were of interest to people, as I said, who had quite an interest in the poetry. So that meant it skewed up. The collectors who came to the exhibitions and enjoyed the stuff, they'd be, I don't know, whatever, middle-aged and up. There were very few, quote, young, you know, not so many 20s, 30s. It was 40, 50, 60 and up. Things like school teachers or, of course, calligraphy teachers, people that like tea ceremony, that sort of stuff. People that enjoyed classical Japanese, arts. Then once the internet came along, of course, the market became much wider, and then it exploded from there. Have I ever thought of reprinting some of them? We have 3 or 4, too. The girls upstairs, Aimi-san has printed 3 or 4 of them, and they are in our catalog here, in the Moko Hong Kong catalog. Or they're in the shop. Are they in the online catalog? Maybe, I don't remember. So we've printed 3 or 4 of them. I still have sets left, actually. It's funny, you know. Every now and then we get an order for a full set. I still have some. I have a bunch of stuff. I have sets left. Surimono album number 4 and number 5. They're still left. There's poetry series left. I think that's all the original prints. Oh, the Solitudes. The Solitude series, there's still about 70 sets left for that. Now this is not Chon-san's awful Gampi. This is my Gampi. So we have a peel today. We have a peel. How long have I been doing my craft? First print I made, I was 29 years old. That would be in 1980. 1979 maybe, 1980. I don't remember exactly. I was 28 or 29. I'm missing lots of the conversation here too, sorry. Oh, Cameron's here. He's awake. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Cameron-san, good morning. Spending a lot of time on the early side here. Let's do this. Let's pull it up. Okay, we got her. We got a good start. Here we go. Look at that. There's a print. If we had more free space at the top where we could mess it up, if I could mess up some free space, we could actually pull a print from this. Very nice. Very nice. This is the Naruko Gampi, the stuff in our shop. The peel is back. The peel is back. So. Slow start, 8.5 out of 10. Whatever. I don't care about the peel. What I care about is this part of it. And you can see it now. Compared to the one we've been carving all the last couple of weeks to show, look at this. It doesn't get any better than this. Happy. Coming soon to an auction near you. Not. How's our time? 9:02. We have a bit of time left. Okay. I should mention we do have a show and tell coming up this afternoon, this morning. Actually, I have show and tell stuff now backed up. More than I can show in a bunch of days. So I've just been skipping some stuff actually. So. There we go. Very nice. Very nice. Was this the 5? Yeah, I guess it was the 5. Yeah. You were talking about your new street cleaning job. So I got sidetracked. There's so many sidetracks going on here. I got to clean, or I had to clean the comedians' faces. That was my job on Tuesday. You see the comedian's face here, the guy sitting just on top of the sky tree. These are quite tall. I know the Merchants Association here has a ladder in storage. We keep it in the back of the hotel over there. And it turns out I'm basically now the tallest guy on the street. Excuse me, I'm not actually all that tall. But compared to your typical Japanese here, I'm a little bit tall. So on Tuesday, I got assigned the job of getting up there. So we put I work with one of the ladies. She gets a bucket and some rags, and I get the ladder, take the ladder to this, and climb up to the top, stand on the top of the ladder, holding on to this thing, and I wipe all the pigeon shit off the top. The pigeons sit on top of these things. So I wipe all the pigeon shit off the top of this, throw her down the rag. She throws up a nice clean rag. I wipe the comedians' faces, both sides, throw her down the rag, down I go, and off goes the ladder to the next one. And there's 16 comedians, 8 on each side of the street. So away we go, move the ladder off to the next one. And it looks like probably that's the job I'll be doing from now on. That's my assigned job, I guess. First Tuesday in the month, except for New Year's. Actually, we got lucky this time because it rained heavily the day before, so all that pigeon shit was all softened up. Be careful, Dave. Bird poop is unhealthy. Well, I didn't actually, lick my fingers, but whatever. So, what do you explain? This is a block that will create a woodblock print. Is there new people here? What do we mean by clear the sidewalk? We clean the street. All the merchants here, and if this was a residential street, the residents do it, but this is a commercial street, so it's the shop owners that do it. Once a month we get out there with brooms and mops and rags and scrapers to clean up gum, and we blitz this place. We physically scrub the actual street, side to side, the full length of the 2 blocks. A bunch of the businesses have taps and faucets outside. So we've got a bunch of sprays. We hook up to the sprays. First the boys spray the street, then they dump on a detergent solution, and then scrub brooms. And there's about 30 people, 25 to 30 people get out there, 10 o'clock in the morning. We don't have any pressure washers. This is And we clean that place. And I said, all the lights, we don't do the actual street lights. That's too high for us. We don't touch those. And this happens once a month. And sometimes, I haven't actually ever seen this one, I've heard about it. They said there's special cleanups called. If there's been, at the end of the festival or something, when there's really a huge amount of, I don't know, whatever stuff has been spilled, staining the actual street tiles and stuff, they call a special cleanup, but I've never seen that. And we all wear our special 69 jackets. How much do they pay us? It's my community. It's my community. I mean, don't, like, what, I don't know, I should be careful, you know. Back when I lived in Canada, I guess I didn't think about it. You didn't clean the sidewalk. But we did, you know. When I lived in Canada, what was the deal? If there's a snow, we had to shovel the snow on the sidewalk in front of my house. And most people did this, but every now and then there's a guy who doesn't do this. So people trying to walk down the sidewalk, there's people who have cleaned it and people who haven't cleaned it. And you don't get paid for it. You know, the city cleans the streets, the residents clean the sidewalks. And here, I've never seen a city cleaning truck. The city takes care of the freeways and the major highways and stuff like that. All local streets are cleaned and maintained by the people who live there. Again, to the level we can. We don't touch the street lights and stuff, and we don't trim the trees. That's professional tree trimmers come in and do that part of it. We do what we can do. We change the light bulbs on the stuff we can reach, and we clean everything else. Well, people don't throw on the street in Japan. That's whatever. There's garbage out there each morning. I mean, the thing I'm describing here is the monthly cleaning. But every morning, I've got a little, what do you call it, a broom and a thing. And every morning, I get out there and I clean up my little area. This morning, there was a thrown away cigarette package. There were a couple of cigarette butts. Yesterday, there was a broken, not yesterday, day before, there was a broken sake cup. Somebody had bought an instant sake and just tossed the cup. So yeah, there is littering here. It's not like Japanese are some wonderful people that don't do bad things. Just the same as everybody else. There's crime here. There's bad stuff here. The Sakura shop guy, they actually don't participate in this. This is interesting. All of this is voluntary. All of this is just under social pressure, whatever. And there are people on the street who don't take part in this. Same as what I just mentioned back in Canada. There was some dude down the street who just doesn't shovel his sidewalk, you know, whatever. There are people who enjoy this sort of activity and people who are thinking, I'm not going to do that. And there are a couple of shops on the street who don't actually participate in this. There's also a couple that don't participate for sensible reason. For example, next to there's an oyster restaurant next door, the antique shop. Next to them is the Orange Bar. And he opens at like 6 or 7 or 8 in the evenings, and he closes at 5 o'clock in the morning. He does not participate in our 10 o'clock in the morning cleanup, and we get it. We know why. I mean, the guy is crashed in bed. He doesn't have staff. He runs it by himself. So he doesn't participate, and nobody is angry at him for doing that. We sweep up and we scrub up in front of his bar. No big deal. So it's common sense. There's no silly social pressure here. And there's the other companies that don't participate, nobody would ever say anything to them. Just, okay, guy, if you want to sit there in your shop and watch us do this, that's okay, whatever. And there's a fun aspect to that street cleaning too, you know, not so much now because there's no foreigners here, but we do this on, like I said, on these Tuesday mornings. And we all have our little local jacket. We've got our Group 69 jacket that we wear. So what will happen in a normal time when there's foreigners here is we're out here doing this from 10 to 11 on this Tuesday morning, you know. And people walk down the street, tourists, you know, whatever. And like every now and then, tourists will walk into this thing. People are scrubbing, and wiping, and they walk in and they're like, what is going on here? And because I'm a Westerner, sometimes I'd get asked, like, oh, they see me and think they can talk to me. So what's happening? What's happening? I'll just say, like, it's the neighborhood street cleaning session, you know, whatever. So I should just, here, grab a broom, join us, you know. And in the print parties, it used to come up in the print parties. I was maybe not so nice when I did this, but we'd be sitting in the print party. It's break time, coffee time, so we sit down, take a break from the print party, and there are lots and lots, and the conversation just goes the same way. The person grabs their coffee and says, oh, I'm just loving Japan. I arrived 2 days ago. It's so wonderful. And we know what they're going to say next. And 99 out of 99 people say the same thing. Oh, my God, Japan is so clean. It's so wonderful, you know. And when I behaved myself, I kept quiet. But when I was feeling in a not-so-behaving mood, I'd say, you know why it's clean? Why isn't your street clean back in Texas or wherever you live, lady, you know? So it's because we do it. You want a clean street back in Texas? Get your broom out and clean it, you know? So different cultures, it's okay. Brookhaven time, 9:13, just a few minutes more here. Okay. It's 9:15, is it? Right, okay. Hi. Okay, today's show and tell is something a little bit different. Do I say that too often? I don't know. Anyway, whatever. This is a batch of prints that are sort of prints and sort of not prints. When we go back to the Edo era, printmaking in Japan is simply, let me get this group here. Hi. Oh, look at that. Might be better with this light off. Hang on a sec here for a while. Okay. When we go back to the Edo era, printmaking is what you see, what you've got, right? Carve things on pieces of wood, rub pigment on the back, and there it is. It's washi paper, printed by hand, carved by hand, whatever. That was the printmaking in the Edo time. That was the publishing, that was the printing in the Edo time. Books carved and printed by hand. Everything carved and printed by hand. When the Westerners came in, they brought printing presses in, they brought lithography, they brought all kinds of stuff in. Printing turned into a lot of different things. There was metal plates, type, all kinds of different things. Woodblock printmaking did survive and move through to the 20th century, but during the Meiji era, there was a real mix of all different kinds of technologies. People that were publishing books and magazines all of a sudden had different ways to do this. You could buy a Heidelberg press, print your book on an offset system or a letterpress system, and away you went. As far as color went, it was a difficult proposition. It was easy in the early days of printing presses to print black stuff, to print type, to print the text of books. But it was difficult, as it was in Europe, to make colored illustrations. In Europe, lithography became one way to do this, using actual pieces of stone and doing color, and then another color, and then another color. But that also was extremely expensive and difficult, the same as the Japanese old techniques. So what we have here today, these are kuchie, frontispiece pictures from Japanese literary magazines of the late Meiji and early Taisho period. And it's a set. Some little old lady must have read her literary magazine, little old lady, whatever, some person, school teacher, whatever, read his literary magazine and got too many on the shelf, tossed them out, but before tossing them out, pulled out the frontispiece from each one and kept them. Now, why am I showing you these here today? Because actually, these are made with woodblock technology. They're not on a washi paper. They're on a Western calendared paper. They're all carved on pieces of wood, and they are all rubbed from the back. Well, somebody's written notes on that one. They're all rubbed. I guess it's probably, can you see it, the shininess? There you go. See, gotcha? See the shininess in parts of this? That indicates where it was rubbed on the back with the printer's rubbing tool, the Baron rubbing tool. But these are not delicate washi prints like we see from most ukiyo-e. So they have carved color blocks. And we can see the carving. When I look at this under the microscope, I can see places where the knife has scratched and popped and scratched and popped. So what you're seeing is a set of woodblock prints here that are not designed as woodblock prints. They were designed as watercolor pictures. The magazine hired an illustrator. Here, I want you to do next week's frontispiece. Do me a watercolor picture. It's got to be 6 by 8. Theme, it's up to you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So the illustrators handed these in, and the workshops, looking at the designs, then carved a set of blocks to do this. So everything you see here, the dark purple, the medium purple, the light purple, the shading under the bridge, is all done in color separations from watercolor pictures. You saw me a few minutes ago doing a very easy color separation. There's the black line, split it up, brown inside, nothing outside. This is a different story. So these, to me, are a treasure, an absolute treasure of information on how to do this, how to take a watercolor picture and turn it into a woodblock print. And these are considered cheap junk because they are not official woodblock prints. Nobody likes them, and because they're poorly printed, like look at this, dirty and messy, whatever, they just go for junk prices. Let me just flip through these. These are all woodblock prints made in reproduction of watercolor paintings, and all by different artists, and all thus in a different style. They're the same style in the sense that they're all made by the same watercolor type brushes. And these are woodblock prints. I showed these to Ishikawa-san upstairs a couple of days ago, and she said, "My God, we should do this as a subscription series one year. Something like this is so different and so beautiful from what we've done up to now." And they're mostly, what are they? Landscapes are a main theme, or outdoor pictures are a main theme, but there are people. We'll get to people in a few minutes. We'll see what's happening here. And it may or may not. They may have given the illustrator an index to the contents of that magazine. So these may be pickup from one of the stories that was in that monthly magazine, or it may just have been a generic picture not related. I really don't know. Shall I zoom in a bit more? Or maybe what we should do is, let me flip through them first, and then grab a couple and zoom in closer to try and get a look at the effect here. Here, we can also get rid of the outside picture here, just a minute. And I myself don't know the artists' names at all, although some of them perhaps actually are they're prominent illustrators of the late Meiji and Taisho period. And these will be known people. I myself don't know them, but they will be known people. This is Hiro, I don't know. and all different styles. And this is a woodblock print. It's sort of hard to believe when all you know about woodblock prints is ukiyo-e or shimhanga, but these are woodblock prints. And I would bet you that if you had the original sketch here, that these would be very, very similar to the original sketch. That looks Canadian. Look at this. Looks like Walter Phillips. If I told you that was a Walter Phillips, you'd probably believe me. So simple and yet so beautifully done. And they've caught each person's style. Some of them have a specific strong outline, like this next one. Some, look at this, these two, look at this. A strong, vivid outline with washy colors, and then the whole thing done. This looks like almost like a charcoal drawing. What's that thing where they don't do that with you know, they've got a stick of something. This is a wood block print. All of these are wood block prints. Yeah, go back. Color stains. Look at this, look at this. This confused me at first. The colors here, and I thought, wait a minute. And I looked on the back, and this area is all rubbed with the Baron. It's actually a wood block print. But this area, there's no rubbing on the back. So my guess is the owner of the magazine took this thing, put the magazine on a stand, got his little sketchbook, and just tried making a little, you know, design like this. And he mixed his colors and put them side by side on here. Yeah, but this was not great art. This is a magazine page. So he was testing his own colors, I think, on the margin of this one. We see that on 2 or 3 more. So the guy who collected these would have been an amateur artist, I think. There's 20 of them in this group. And they are such pleasure, such pleasure. This is as different from ukiyo-e as you could possibly get. I mean, this is European. Look at this. This is French. It's that guy's name. What's the guy's name? Henri somebody who made some early woodblock prints in the early 20th century. These are all heavily, heavily European influenced. Here. Same thing again. He's tested his color with his brush on here. So. And the cassoulet, look at this. Scratch carving. I put this under the microscope because I really didn't quite understand how it was done. And it's actually carved. You can see the knife marks. This is all scratch carving. You can see where the knife has gone, hitting, attacking, attacking, attacking. It's in imitation of a brush running out of ink, but it's actually carved. And you can see the leftover signs from the knife. These are Japanese illustrators working in very much a European type mode or European type model. Japan at that time was just opening up. We all talk about the influence that the Hokusai prints had on European designers. The other way around, the same thing happened. Absolutely the same thing happened. And that one doesn't float my boat. That's beautiful. That looked really, really nice. Very peaceful mood, beautifully. This one doesn't do anything for me, whatever. Each guy with his own style. And if you didn't know, you would swear up and down, these are not woodblock prints, they're watercolor paintings. Of course they are. You would swear up and down they were not woodblock prints, but they actually all are. Every one is carved and every one is hand rubbed. You can see it again. You can see it on the back if I get the lines just right. And my guess is the paper wasn't moistened when they printed these. I'm not so sure about this, but it looks like it's not Japanese washi at all. It's a Western paper. And none of the pigments get absorbed into the paper. The pigments are on the front and they don't go through into the paper or to the back. So my guess is it was dry paper. But don't quote me. Woodblock print. You'd never believe it, but yeah, it's a woodblock print. Did they use extra paste with the color? I have no idea how these were made, other than that they are clearly done with pieces of wood. I can see knife marks, I can see barren marks, but beyond that, what type of pigment they used, how they applied it, how they got the cloudy effects in this, I have no knowledge of how this was done, I'm sorry. Real watercolor areas have a darker border to them. How did they achieve it in woodblock? I'm not quite sure what you mean here. Some of these do have a key line. Just a sec. I mean, this one, for example, there is a key block carved and then color blocks. This one looks like a sort of etching. There's etching lines. In fact, the model that was handed in may have been like an etching. It's a pen drawing, and they have carved it like a key. Some of them have no key block at all. This is like a Matt Brown print. There's no key block whatsoever. It's just color masses. So I'm not sure what the question is here. This one, I like this one. Look at this. What was the publisher? I don't know. We're still investigating this. And there were many, many, many literary magazines of exactly the same size. It was a standard size, and they were all bound the same way. So there's a half a dozen different magazines of that day that these could be taken from. And they may all actually not be from the same magazine. I don't know. What it needs is, next time I'm down in the used bookstore area, there are bookshops that deal in this kind of magazine. And I need to stand at the shelf there and flip through some of them till I find one of these, and that will tell me what magazine it was from. So I don't know. Late Meiji, early Taisho era is all I know. And that's a good question too. How many would they have made? That's a really interesting question, because that tells you how many woodblock prints did they need to make. I don't know. That may be documented. I don't have that kind of information in front of me. This would be a great research project. Gather a bunch of these down, go to the National Library, find out the copyright information, find how many were published for each one. There's tons of research that could be done on these. This is not your Hokusai horse. Not sure what's happening here. The boys look like they have school uniforms. Wearing sandals, carrying his boots. You tell me, I don't know. No idea. This looks more Chinese than Japanese, I don't know. Same, we've seen that name before, Hiro. This too, this is a clue about whether they're made as woodblock prints or not. There's a really big clue on this one. I'm not sure if it'll be understandable to you. In the middle here, see this black line? This happens to us every now and then where we're not too careful. When we're printing the key block to a print, we're doing it with a brush, like you saw me do just a few minutes ago. You saw me do this. I rubbed with a brush, put the paper down, and printed it. Now, while I'm rubbing with the brush, if one of those hairs comes out, it stays on the block, and I don't see it, I don't notice it. I've rubbed my black pigment because it's all black. If there's one little hair there, I don't see it. You put your paper down, rub the back and pull it off, and where that brush was, where that hair was, you can see what's happened. The hair itself prints, and because it's sitting on top of the carved lines, you get this effect. So this is a Sherlock Holmes looks at this and says, aha, this is not photomechanical, this is an actually printed from a wood block with an actual rubbed on brush. And this is interesting to me because I was thinking these may have been rolled on pigment, and it's not. It's brushed on pigment. And something else that tells us it's brushed on is the tamari. Look at this. See the pigment, the little darker bits of pigment here? This is glue sitting in all those little corners. There's lots of tamari on this. This was printed quickly and roughly. But yes, it is 100% wood block print. A bristle on the block, yes. Or a beard hair. That looks to me like a brush hair, but whatever. John Becker says, I have that in my Sensoji print. blame the workshop, because if the brush is not taken care of well, it sheds hairs. So that's not so much the printer's mistake, unless he catches it, it's the maintenance of the tool. Someone asked, let's zoom in on a couple. Let's zoom in on a couple. Let's zoom in on a few more. Look at this. You would never believe this is a woodblock print. But when you sit and look at it, you can see the zones where they've done it. A middle green, a darker green, and with everything being printed in a mottled way. There's your tamari again too. This is pigment on the edge of that area. That's dark brown pigment. It's the same pigment used to print the middle, but when it's left in a clump, it comes up darker. There's 20 of them, and I think they cost me about 5,000 yen. I don't remember exactly, I'm sorry. Actually, this is half of the stash. There was 2 separate auctions, for 20 and then for 20 again, and I picked up both of them. So this is half of the group. You can see, when you look at them closely, you can see how the carving was done. You can see the idea. A set of color blocks carved for this. And if you want to look at woodblock prints, modern ones made like this, the place to go is go to Matt Brown's website. It's ooloopress.com, O-O-L-O-O, Ooloo Press. And Matt doesn't draw in this style. I'm talking about the way prints are made. He works with no key block for the most part. He works in color masses. And you will see stuff exactly like this in Matt Brown's print. Matt Brown's prints. Ooloo, somebody's got it? Yes, John Becker here's got it. Thank you. And but difference from this would have been an illustrator preparing a watercolor and sending it to a workshop. You guys reproduce it. That's not how Matt works, of course. Matt works on the wood. He will make a wood block first for a mountain, print it, and think, okay, now what do I need next? Grabs another piece of wood and starts hacking some stuff up. So Matt doesn't start, for the most part. He will sketch ideas, but he doesn't start with a perfectly finished model, which he then makes as a wood block print. He makes it up as he goes along. These are actual woodblock reproductions of previously prepared watercolor paintings. So there we go, something a little bit different today. And going by what the staff has said, Dave, let's do something like this. Let's do something like this. Easy to say, very difficult. Easy when you know how to do it, very difficult if you don't know how to do it. So, okay, I think that'll do us. We actually got lots of work done today, some different stuff here. We had some color separations, we had some carving, and we had an interesting show and tell. So thank you very much. Today is Thursday. I'll be back here 2 more days. The rest of my day now is I got to get ready for the NHK filming, which is happening here at this same desk. When I find out about the program being broadcast, I'll let you know. But again, it's not a program about me. It's a program that I'm just simply as a commentator. I'm supposed to think of smart things to say about some specific topic. Anyway, there we are. So I'll be back in again. 2 more days, 2 days plus minus 90 minutes. Saturday morning for me, Friday evening for most of you guys. Nice to talk to you. I'll enjoy reading the stream during my lunch break. And thanks to the 3 people who volunteered and asked to do the moderation thing here. They're standing by, sitting there. I don't think they'll be needed much, but who knows what will happen in the future. But thanks to those 3 people for the cooperation and helping me keep this thing running smooth and steadily. See you guys in a couple of days. Bye for now.